Stay tuned for this episode of Dentside Depot as we go and buy a 1979 Ford F-150 that I guarantee you have never seen before and you have no idea what it is. So stay tuned, let's go buy this cool truck. All right, so here it is, and I guarantee you have never seen a truck like this before. It is a 1979 F-150 short bed 4x4 with the Dearborn package. Now, we're gonna talk a lot about this package today and what it means and everything else, but first I just wanna go around the truck, show you what we got, and I gotta get a lot of this crap out of here and get it loaded up onto the trailer. So once I get it home, we'll take a closer look at everything, but here's what we got. It's a really cool truck. This is a really rare truck. It's not a Ford option truck, but this truck is absolutely crazy with all the stuff that it has, and I can't wait to get it back to the depot here and see if we can get it running for the first time in God knows how many years. It is a one-owner truck. I have all the paperwork on it. It's absolutely crazy. So I'm going to get this thing loaded up, and then probably tomorrow we'll look it over a little bit better and see what we got. So stay tuned for one super awesome Dearborn edition F-150. All right, and it is now 1 week later, and we got the truck home back here to Dentside Depot. It's actually at my buddy Steve-O's house. What we're going to do in the rest of this video is we're going to talk about this truck and what makes it special. Yes, this is a real truck. I have the documentation to show you that it's a real truck. We're going to go through it. I'm going to talk about all the parts that came on it. Everything you see on this truck was sold with it brand new. It is the Dearborn truck. Now, the story behind these trucks is Ford would send them off to a company that was called Dearborn, and Dearborn was a subsidiary of another company called Leisure Industries, and then Leisure Industries was a subsidiary of Coachman. Now, what would happen is Coachman would make the modifications to the truck, and then they would send it off to a Ford dealership to be sold. That's what we're going to talk about here today, all those different parts. So let's start in the front and then work our way all the way to the back. In the front, the first thing that you would have is this really cool brush guard. Unlike a regular factory Ford guard, this one would cover the grille and the headlights, and it would also have these really trick fog lamps that you could see right here. Again, this would have been sold on this truck brand new. Looking at the tires, the wheels and tires, this is really cool. We have the turbine wheels, and that would be the correct wheel that would have come on this truck brand new. A 15x10 turbine, and then also it would have the BF Goodrich radial TA tires on. Next up, factory side steps or running boards on it, and these running boards obviously just gave it that really cool look, and then you could step on them to help you get into the truck. The back on the bed, we would have a roll bar, and this roll bar was different than what a factory roll bar would have looked like. The angle of it is different. It didn't match the back of the cab like the factory one would, but it would also have 3 positions on the top, and they were sold new with KC lights on them. Those ones are missing on this particular truck. Let's talk about the stripe package, and that's what really sets this truck off from regular trucks that you wouldn't normally see. First of all, on the bed here, you would see the word Dearborn, and that was indicating the company name that they had. Depending on the truck, you would get the stripe in different colors. You could see it going down, and had really cool design going up the side of the cab, all the way down the side of the bed, both top and bottom. And then on the tailgate, the letters would be colored in, and then it'd have really cool design going across. And that was the factory stripe on this truck, and it's pretty cool. You can see which way this truck was facing the sun. This side was definitely facing the sun because it's way more faded, and also the lug nuts broke on this side, and the other side they were fine, and there's a lot less fade on it, which is definitely pretty indicative of a patina truck. Now let's take a look inside the truck and see what we got. Now, for those of you that are Ford truck experts, you know that these trucks never came with bucket seats. When you're talking about a pickup truck, the Broncos came with bucket seats, the vans came with bucket seats, but the full-size pickups never came with bucket seats. The only exception to that rule would have been a Dearborn package truck, which actually came with bucket seats, and those are those seats right here. You can see it would be a captain style chair, and it would have 2 fold down armrests just like this, and that is definitely really cool. I would argue one of the biggest things missing from these trucks in the 1970s. And you can see I got it a little bit cleaned up here. It's looking a little bit better. It does have an adjustment knob right here. You pull it out and the seat will go forward like so. I don't think it tilts. I haven't found a tilt for it yet, but you can see the brackets that they use for it right there. In addition to the captain's chairs, you would also get this really cool center console. And again, this is actually what came on this truck brand new. It kind of looks like a cooler, but you have this vinyl pad here on the top. You have 2 cup holders and a little slot right here to put stuff in. And then the gentleman added room for a scanner. I'm going to talk about why he added that later on. There is a reason for it, but we know that this truck is real. We have the body tag right here. You can see the VIN ending in 495. And then also we have this additional placard right here that indicates that Coachman Industries Incorporated altered this vehicle, and that would be federal law to have this decal on there when a vehicle was modified new in factory form. Now, how do we know that Ford authorized this modification to take place? Well, there is one way that you can absolutely tell, and that is by having a DSO number of 86. DSO number of 86 indicates that it was a recreational export or sent for recreational use for a company to modify. It would be typical to see an 86 on these particular trucks, obviously, and then other trucks like the Midas Touch truck and the Sandbox trucks also got that 86 DSO, which would have been exclusive to those particular trucks. Okay, now let's talk about the rest of the parts that you got with the Dearborn pack. Door panel, and believe it or not, this is what the door panel would have looked like when it was brand new. A door insert that kind of would look similar to an XLT door insert from the earlier 70s, and then they added this extra insert right here, and yep, they just screwed it right through just like that, which is, you know, a little bit odd, but that's the way they did it. Next up, it came with extra carpeting, and you can see it was a thick shag carpet, and that would be the correct factory carpet for this truck from Coachman. And you can see they also added it to the kickboard side, or the kick panel side right there, which was definitely very indicative of what kind of carpeting you would get in the 7. There were definitely some other cool things that were added to this truck as we work our way through. First of all, they added an 8-track player, which is definitely really awesome. If you know 70s Ford trucks, you know that these vehicles never got a stereo of any kind, or excuse me, a tape player of any kind or an 8-track player of any kind, because the factory ones did not fit, but these ones did. It got an 8-track, and then this gentleman added a tape deck player adapter, which is definitely pretty darn cool if you ask me. If you look down here at the bottom, you have some tapes that he was stowing in the box down here, and you can see one of these, check this out, is Officer and a Gentleman. I'm going to talk about why that's important for the provenance of this truck here later on, so keep that in mind. Next up, we have this added compass, and that's a pretty cool feature. And you can see this little button right here. If you push that button in, if it was still working properly, it would light up the compass so you could see it at nighttime. Next, we had a little temperature gauge that was added. Obviously, this one is long since expired and no longer works, but that's pretty cool. Over on the glove box, we have this really awesome emblem that says Dearborn, engineered by Consolidated Leisure Industries, a division of Coachman Industries Incorporated. And I'm going to show you the paperwork on all of this so you know that this is the real deal and I am not making any of this up. This is all actually what this truck had brand new. Added alarm system, and this would have been put on by Coachman as well, and the rest of it is underneath the hood, and that would obviously just arm it if you push it up like that, and to turn it off, just push it down like that. One of the coolest things about this truck, and this is going to blow your mind when we look on the roof here, is it has a T-top style or a dual moon roof style sunroof, which is pretty awesome. Now you would see these on the Midas Touch trucks as well, and then obviously these ones also got. And while we're up here, you can see I'm pretty amazed. This truck essentially has no rust on it except for inside of the bed. Let's look at it from the inside here and see what we can find. Okay, so you can see how they did the headliner here. It's definitely got some leaks in it. Now let's try and open this thing. So we pull that down just like you would a regular sunroof from the time period, and there you go, it's open. Let's take a look at the outside. That's really cool. Something you won't see on any other 70s Ford truck, that's for sure. You have a fire extinguisher, and believe it or not, that fire extinguisher was also installed by Coachman as a part of the package. They would include that as well. Coachman also installed a digital quartz clock, which is definitely a really cool addition. You know that these 70s trucks did not come with a clock, unless you ordered the digital clock AM radio, which was very rare during that time period for sure. So digital clock was definitely a great ad. Another thing that I really like are CB radios, and we can see here we have this CB radio that was added. You can see it would pass through the cab, come out right here, and then it would attach to the transceiver unit. Now the crazy thing is I found the gentleman's original CC license to run his CB radio, and we will talk about that once I talk about the personal history on this truck. Before we talk about the personal history, let's go over the Marty report on this. So now we're going to talk about the Marty report on this truck, and the Marty report provides us with the original factory information. We can see here the VIN again of 4954 and the recreational vehicle pool DSO of 86, which indicates again that it was essentially exported to Coachman to be modified, which we know is a fact, and I have the paperwork. I'm going to show you that here shortly. It's Raven black, and it would have had black vinyl and silver seats from the factory. Obviously that has been changed. It doesn't have a ton of options, but it does have some cool ones. First up, we have tilt steering wheel and sports steering wheel. So right here we have the original factory rally steering wheel with that really cool horn button, and then obviously we have the tilt, so the wheel goes up and back down again, which is definitely a great feature that I like to have on all of my trucks. It does have air conditioning, and it also has the really cool handling package. Now the handling package on these trucks would have added dual front shocks. Not only do they make the truck drive better, but they also look really cool, especially when you have like bright yellow shocks underneath there. It really sets off the look for these trucks. It's essentially beyond that just a base model truck. It's a custom package, it has convenience group, and that's really about it. So as a factory truck, not really rare. Not rare, but definitely very desirable, being a short bed 4x4. It's the addition of the Dearborn package is what makes it so rare. Now, let's start talking about this truck as a Dearborn package and then the individual history on it. So for those of you that may still not believe me that this was a real thing, here is an actual dealer sheet from the company Dearborn. This was one of their vans. You can still find vans for sale today that have the Dearborn package on them. They're not really that rare. When they get rare is when you talk about Broncos and full-size trucks. Those you essentially are not going to find. This is the only full-size Dearborn truck from the 70s that I have ever seen in existence. I have a source that told me that in 1979, Ford only produced or sent out 500 of these trucks and the Broncos to be modified with the Dearborn package, and then they sent them all off to the highest gross sales dealers only. So only the highest gross selling dealers got these particular trucks, essentially as a sales promotion tool to get people into the dealership and look at it. Now, here's the crazy thing about this truck, and that is that not only do I have all the original paperwork on this truck, I even have the original invoice from the selling dealer, which was Coons Ford of Annapolis, Maryland, which was only a few miles away from where I picked this truck up, sitting in a parking lot, essentially abandoned. Look at all this paperwork. You will be shocked to know that the total price on this truck came to $13,428.48, and this piece of documentation here, signed by the original owner with the matching VIN number, is an absolute indicator of how much this truck cost. I would say that this truck would have been, if not the most, among the most expensive Ford trucks that you could have bought in 1979, which is really incredible piece of history there. I even have the original Consolidated Leisure Industries VIN correct marked document that shows all of the technicians that did all of the prep work for everything on this truck, including the original warranty. It's really unbelievable, all the documentation that we have, and we can see here 2979. Which reminds me, I want to show you something interesting on the Marty report for this truck. Take a look here. The truck was actually built on December 22nd of 1978, but it was not released until March 16th of 1979. Typically, these two dates would be only within a few days of each other, maybe even sometimes on the same day. But in this instance, we have a multiple month difference, being 3. The reason for that is the truck was sent to Leisure Industries before it was then released to the dealer, in this case Coons Ford, that eventually sold the truck. And that again shows the provenance of this particular vehicle. Now, with all that being said, I do want to give a quick story about the original owner of this truck and the story behind it. So this truck was actually owned by a Vietnam veteran who was a Navy SEAL, and I can confirm that that story is true by all the evidence that we have with the truck. First of all, you can see right here an Annapolis detachment decal of where the gentleman worked. Next up, I have his original ID card from the Naval Ship Research Center where he was working at some point during his career. In addition, he had this installed to use a scanner that he was working with on base. Of course, that is just an assumption. And here's where the paperwork gets really crazy with this truck. I have every single registration and insurance card going all the way back until the first day that this truck was born, including the original receipt that he got from Nationwide from day one. It's really insane, all of the documentation that we have here to show how original this truck was. Looking around, this truck essentially has no rust on it anywhere except for in the bed. It is bad in the front because it was holding a whole bunch of trash before I cleaned it out. And it also has some a bit of rust on the floorboards, but that's really it as far as the condition of the truck. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Dentside Depot. I'm so pumped to have this ultra rare Dearborn edition F-150. It's probably the only one left in the world, at least the only one left in the world that's still in original condition. If you like this episode, remember to like and subscribe and keep restoring those classic trucks.